We all set? Welcome everyone to Greenfield City Council October 8th, 2024 meeting. Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor White,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez,
Here.
Councilmember Martinez,
Here.
Councilmember Ortiz, Councilmember Tipton.
Present. All right. We have a quorum. This agenda item allows the city council to excuse the absence of council members not present at the meeting. All council members are present. This agenda item will be skipped. Any public comment on item C? Any city council comments?
I'll move that we excuse Councilmember Ortiz as we all knew she was not going to be here tonight.
Right, I'll entertain a second.
I'd like to just go back and make a comment,
Sure.
if I can. So I am going to vote to excuse Councilmember Ortiz because you did notify us in advance, but I would hope that I receive the same courtesy in return.
Okay, all right. I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. All right, we will now do the invocation by Pastor Inez Lugo. I understand it's going to be online, is that correct?
Yes, she's on there.
Buenas tardes.
Yes,
Crystal here. Translation for me. Primera de Timoteo 2 del 1 al 2. Exhorto ante todo a que se hagan acciones de gracia con todos los hombres, por los reyes y por todos los que están en inminencia, para que vivamos quieta y reposadamente en toda piedad y honestidad.
Therefore I exhort, first of all, the supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men, for kings and all who are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in a goodliness and reverence.
Thank you. Gracias a Dios por este día, por su amor y su misericordia. Bendice al concilio de la ciudad, al departamento de policías, al de bomberos, a las agencias y que todas las agencias puedan ayudar a Greenfield. Todo eso te lo pedimos en el nombre de Jesús. Amén.
Thanks be to God for this day, for this love and this wisdom. Bless the city council, the police department, the fire department, and any other agencies in the city of Greenfield. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amén.
thank you. All right, will you all please stand for the pledge? Ready? Salute. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda review.
No changes, Mr. Mayor.
All right. We'll move to item G, public comments from the audience regarding items not on the agenda. This portion of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the council on items not on closed session, consent calendar, public hearings, and city council business. Under state regulations, no action can be taken on non-agenda items, including issues raised under this agenda item. Members of the public should be aware of this when addressing council regarding items not specifically referenced on this agenda. Do we have any public comments?
Good afternoon, Council. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Victor Torres. I am a co-founder of a youth-led organization here in Greenfield and in Watsonville named Future Leaders of Change, and I just wanted to let everyone know that on Thursday we will be hosting an open forum to host candidates running for ballot here in Greenfield, and it's open to all members of the public to come and ask questions as well as to get a chance to hear from those candidates on your ballot as to who represents the issues that matter most to you. So if you have questions about, say, bad quality of roads or lack of good social services here in town, this is the place for you to be, and I highly recommend you attend. So just to let everyone know, we are going to be hosting this in conjunction with Greenfield LULAC here on Thursday at, I believe, 6 p.m., and everyone here is welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. My name is Cynthia, and I'm here on behalf of community members that have gotten together along with Councilmember Ortiz to announce the first annual Day of Thanks. Day of Thanks is scheduled for Sunday, November 24th, 2024, to be held at the Veterans Memorial Hall. This event aims to celebrate our local culture, bring families together, show our thankfulness, and overall connect with the residents. We are seeking in-kind donations, anything like turkeys, desserts, drinks, anything that we can share with our community that day. We would like to thank Rancho San Miguel, Rite Aid for their donations. We hope this is the first of many. If you are interested in donating, we will be having some barrels set up, not sure where exactly now, but location is still to be determined. But Councilmember Ortiz and myself are available to be reached by email, adayofThanks24@gmail.com, or by cell phone at 831-260-7322. We will be sharing the flyer soon, so be on the lookout for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in chambers?
Good evening, council members. My name is Benito. I just wanted to share about Nerbly with everyone here. So Nerbly, I'm the founder of Nerbly, and Nerbly is a platform that works as a community bulletin board that you can post all of the city's events and announcements in one place. Our platform also supports audio voiceover for seniors, where our app reads the information to the seniors. So and we also support indigenous languages as well, such as Triqui and Mixteco, for those vital informations that we need to get out in multiple languages. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that information. Anyone else in chambers? I see one hand raised.
Beatriz?
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Yeah.
Just want to go ahead and let you guys know, I don't know if you guys are aware that the Jamba Juice opened today. I got to meet the owner, great guy. You know, he said he's given the opportunity for the Greenfield residents to work here. So, you know, that is very awesome of him. Although they're having some problems with opening Chester chicken and the pizza because they're having problems with the PG&E. That's, you know, pretty sad. You know, I would like to take Victor Torres, you know, for announcing the council forum. You know, thank you, Victor. You know, everyone's invited. And, you know, one of the things that I'm kind of like puzzled is, why is Councilmember Tipton attending council meetings when Judge ruled his appointment was illegal? He should not be motioning or seconding a motion. So that's just my question. I know I'm not going to get an answer, but that's not fair. No transparency there. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have anyone else who would like to bring anything before council? If not, we'll go on to comments from City Council.
Thank you. So a couple of mine have already been covered. I was going to put out the Jamba Juice that opened today. I was also going to speak about the candidate forum here on Thursday night. GPD posted recently that this is Pedestrian Safety Month. I encourage that. Please make sure when you're out walking, you aren't wearing dark clothing. You're crossing well-lit areas. You're watching out for the cars as the cars need to watch out for you. When you're driving, don't speed. Watch particularly at intersections and crosswalks. Watch around the stop signs where pedestrians may be crossing, and especially in the residential areas where kids and other pedestrians may just dart out into the street in front of you. So please watch out for that and make sure that pedestrians are all safe here in Greenfield this month. I'll continue that along with commercial vehicle parking. There's still an issue with that in some of the residential areas, particularly some of the ones that are marked with no commercial vehicles greater than 5 tons. We have commercial vehicles parking in those areas. And the pieces too is they're also blocking sidewalks and corner cuts in some areas, which is also illegal. So we need to make sure that if you're a commercial vehicle driver, please make sure you don't block sidewalks. Make sure you aren't blocking those corner cuts for the wheelchairs and things like that. So, and again, if you're not supposed to be parking in a residential zone, please don't be. I'd also, is there any way we can get an update on how our interim parking for recreational vehicles is going? I know it's only been a couple of weeks, but if we could get an idea of the number of contacts we're having and how we're communicating that out, I'd appreciate that. Animal control, I've gotten a couple of concerns from residents about dogs being loose again. And apparently the officers have actually seen the dogs running loose this time. If we get an update on what's going on with enforcement efforts around that, I'd appreciate that. Hot conditions are continuing this week. Thankfully, it's supposed to be getting a little bit cooler, but please watch out for the seniors, the kids, the animals, anybody else who may not be able to communicate effectively that they're having discomfort in the heat. EAH, I still haven't seen much change in the last couple of weeks. I'd like to see about if we can get an update on what's going on with EAH. Maybe see if we can get a tour of the facility, one of the units. Like I said, like I mentioned last time, apparently Supervisor Lopez was able to get a walkthrough of some of the units. I'd like to see if we could avail ourselves of that opportunity as well. There's a flu clinic, a community flu clinic in Gonzales this Saturday, being run by Salinas Valley Health. If you don't have a flu shot, they'll be giving them out for free. Just go up and sign up for those. Our Day of the Dead and Halloween contests are coming on again. So if you're interested, there should be flyers posted on the city's webpage and the city's Facebook. Or reach out to any of us for more information. And the last thing I've got is the police logs are back online again. We're glad to see that. And I'm sure that Mr. Jurgen Smith is very happy to see that as well, since he's been complaining about that for a while. So I'm very glad to see that we've got our software update working and we've got that connected across again. And I know I've gotten a couple of comments about that already, saying that they're glad to see it. And that's all I've got today.
All right, thank you very much. Councilwoman Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor. So before anything, antes que nada quiero darle la bienvenida en español. Sé que no tenemos traductor hoy, aparentemente, pero para los que están aquí presentes y para los que están escuchándonos a través de las redes sociales, bienvenidos al concilio, gracias por estar aquí. So I'm going to say my comments and then I'll go briefly and say them in Spanish as well. So very quick, I really want to thank Chief Mixer for always being there to answer phone calls when I have a lot of questions, especially with our youth. And so going into that topic, I really wanted to see if it could be possible that we have like a community forum or like a workshop when we talk about restorative justice, because I know that the school apparently they're in confusion whether they have it or they don't. And so I know that talking to you, you are a strong supporter of restorative justice. And so I would love to see that in our community, because again, I can't say it enough. Even at the Attorney General's office, Greenfield is highlighted as a concern because of the amount of expulsions that we have specifically with our indigenous community. So we really want to make sure that we as parents are active, because we all know as parents that we have that age where children is very crucial, the preteens, and God save us all, but we need to be active. So if something we could put on, Chief, that would be amazing, and I know that a lot of parents would want to know more about that. So rápidamente le estoy diciendo al jefe de policías que gracias por siempre estar ahí para contestar las llamadas como residente cuando le marco para preguntarle qué está pasando, qué hay disponible para la comunidad. Y algo que le estoy pidiendo es que en las escuelas se confunden si existe o no existe lo que viene siendo restaurar la justicia para nuestra juventud que está en problemas, ya sea que se están escapando de la escuela, que están tomando el vicio del alcohol o las drogas. Queremos poder apoyarlos en este momento tan crucial y, como lo he dicho varias veces, hasta el en el estado de California. Greenfield está como algo al que es una alerta por tanto niño que expulsan en las escuelas, específicamente de nuestras comunidades indígenas, y es importante que estemos activos como padres porque sabemos que las hormonas están a la flor de piel, así es que como papás estar más atento y pedir ayuda cuando la necesitemos, así es que ojalá se pueda lograr con la ayuda de nuestro jefe de policía, Mixer. Y otra cosa que quería mencionar es el foro comunitario que mencionó aquí el joven Víctor. Lo está poniendo a los futuros líderes del cambio, un grupo juvenil que han logrado muchas cosas, no solamente en la ciudad, sino a nivel estatal, junto con Greenfield LULAC, para que conozcan sus candidatos. Aquí tenemos a la señorita Marisela, conocida como Marcy, que ella va a ser una de las que va a representar una de las áreas del distrito. Y asegúrense en que vengan y que le exijan a los candidatos que estén aquí para que ustedes puedan hacer todas esas preguntas. ¿Por qué no arreglan mi carretera? ¿Por qué no hacen esto? ¿Por qué no hacen lo otro? ¿Cuánto dinero hay en la ciudad? So esto es importante para tener estos espacios. So going back to the candidate forum, it's important that we have folks to show up to really ask these candidates questions. We do have Marisela in the audience, also known as Marcy, who I went to high school with. She is one of the members that did not have any opposition, so she's already in one of the seats. But we want folks to come out, ask these questions. What happened with how much money the city has? How much are we going to spend fixing roads or, bringing different programs? This is your opportunity to come and meet the candidates and also hold those candidates accountable to making sure that they are going to have that open door policy with you. So thank you for bringing that up, Victor and Ms. Beatriz. And now I move to Cal Cities. So I will be attending the Cal Cities, my last Cal Cities conference in 8 years. So I'm excited just to be able to go out there and connect with many of my ally folks that I have throughout the state that have been doing amazing things, whether representing local politics or moving up to the state capitol, meeting with attorneys. I know that I'm very interested talking to my friend in Parlier. They used to have our legal counsel and then they were able to change to another one that is saving the city money. So that's something that I'm always very concerned is how we allocate that money. So I'm hoping to connect with Mayor Beltran from the city of Parlier. So nuevamente, y para finalizar, mi último comentario es que, como ustedes saben, no voy a estar corriendo para reelegirme. Esta es mi última conferencia que voy a asistir en la ciudad de Long Beach para Cal Cities, que es una organización grande de diferentes políticos, y lo que más me llama la atención o me motiva es poder conectarme con mis compañeros en el mundo de la política, pero más que nada con la señorita Beltrán, que es la alcaldesa de la ciudad de Parlier. Ellos tenían el bufete de abogados que tenemos nosotros y se cambiaron otro que les está ahorrando muchísimo dinero a la ciudad, y es algo que lo que quiero platicarle porque sabemos que mucho de nuestro dinero se gasta con nuestro sistema legal que tenemos aquí en la ciudad de Greenfield. Y con eso concluyo mis comentarios, así es que gracias a todo. And with that, I conclude, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Good evening. I was going to start with asking about the pilot program for the rec vehicles, but I'll leave that since we have a request for just an update on that already. And also, thank you for everybody that worked so hard to get the police logs back up. And it's my understanding that those will be retroactively published, so everything is going to be there for full transparency on everything that went on while it was down. So everyone can catch up if they want a nice long read, I guess. I do want to address something that is going to be coming up later tonight because we, as council members, don't have an opportunity to comment on that when that item comes up. And I'm sorry, I have a cough drop, so choking just a little. We did receive an email earlier today that Councilmember Tipton will not be recusing himself from the closed session item tonight. As everybody knows, he has recused himself the last 2 or 3 times. I didn't have time to look back and if we've heard this item 2 or 3 times in the past, due to a conflict of interest. So I don't believe that the conflict of interest has suddenly disappeared. I do want to ask our city attorney what the legal opinion is of the city attorney as to whether or not there are possible repercussions of any kind of unethical behavior that could result from not recusing himself from that item. Actually, I'd like to ask that now, yeah.
So the city attorney doesn't provide conflict of interest advice to any one city council member. That's their personal conflict, and so any repercussions are theirs to deal with. Potential repercussions could come from the district attorney, the grand jury, or the Fair Political Practices Commission. Typically, though, the FPPC deals with financial conflicts of interest. So in this case, there likely is not a financial conflict of interest, so any repercussions would likely come from one of the other two.
District attorney or FPPC?
No, grand jury. And grand jury doesn't have powers any more than like an investigative power.
Thank you. I would just like to call on my colleagues up here to stand with me on this, because as city leaders, I think we need to stand for what is right, regardless of who our legal allies may or may not be. I do not believe it's a coincidence that Councilmember Ortiz is out tonight and suddenly Councilmember Tipton does not have a conflict of interest, and I'm not going to pretend that I do. I also think it's insulting to the members of our community if we sit up here and pretend that that has nothing to do with what is going to happen tonight. We have a duty to the city to not embroil it in any more litigation or smear our city council, because we already have lost a lawsuit. And I don't want our city council to be related to any further unethical actions. So I'm personally going to call on Councilmember Tipton and ask him to recuse himself from that item tonight. And I'm going to ask my colleagues to do the same, because I just think unless you believe that the conflict has just suddenly disappeared, we should all do the right thing and ask Councilmember Tipton to recuse himself. That is all.
All right. Thank you very much for your comments. I have a few items here on my list. Monterey Bay Aquarium is offering free admission tickets for the month of October for all residents of Monterey County. You have to go online to reserve the tickets. They're on first come, first served basis. Really great opportunity to visit a world-class venue right here in Monterey County, and the price is right. It's usually $65 for an adult or $50 for youth, so this is free. So please go online and take advantage of that. As mentioned earlier, I wanted to remind everyone of the Greenfield Day of Thanks on November 24th. Free Thanksgiving dinner for up to 400 people is being sponsored by the community. It's being held at Memorial Hall. You can get more information on helping or attending a Day of Thanks 24 at gmail.com. Remind everyone of the Harvest Festival. It's coming up fast, October 19th and 20th. This is our chance to show off Greenfield, come out and enjoy. Greenfield Rotary Club is sponsoring a community yard sale November 23rd at the Memorial Hall. If you would like a booth to sell your items, please reach out to Shirley Gilliam or myself to reserve your spot. Family Movie Night is going to be a part of that. It's sponsored by the Greenfield Recreation Department and Greenfield Veterans Memorial Hall on Friday the 18th. The movie is Despicable Me 4. Go out and have some fun with your family. Please go out and enjoy your neighborhoods. I'm seeing a lot of community and holiday spirit all over town. Lots of pumpkins, holiday wreaths, and Halloween decorations. They're just not to be believed. Enjoy the season and admire your neighbor's hard work and effort. And as also mentioned earlier, I wanted to announce the Candidates Forum, which is happening here in Chambers. All candidates who are running for Greenfield City Council. The event is being sponsored by LULAC, Future Leaders for Change, and the League of Women's Voters, Monterey County. It's happening at 6 to 8 p.m. this Thursday. Yeah. If you would like to ask questions or learn about the candidates, please be here. All right, thank you very much. Let's move to consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and may be approved by one action of the City Council unless a request for removal for discussion or explanation is received prior to the time Council votes on the motion to adopt. Any public comments on consent calendar? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to Council. Do we have any questions or need anything pulled or answered ahead of time? Then I'll entertain a motion on the consent calendar.
Move to adopt. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Move to item K1, receive and file 2021-22 financial audits. I'm sorry?
J1?
I'm sorry. Thank you. Right over that. Proclamation proclaiming October 2024 as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And the proclamation to read. During National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, our nation honors the courage and strength of over 3.4 million Americans who are battling this terrible disease and remembers loved ones whose lives have been affected by breast cancer. In memory of those we have lost, we pledge never to waver from our ongoing search for effective and innovative medical advancements to treat and prevent the disease. In the United States, more than 268,000 women and approximately 2,600 men are diagnosed with breast cancer annually. While deaths from breast cancer have declined over time, it remains the second most common form of cancer and the second leading cause of cancer deaths overall among American women, with a staggering 41,000 lives lost each year. For this reason, the City Council urges our fellow residents and Americans, especially those who have family history or may be at increased risk, to consult with the healthcare providers about the individual likelihood of developing breast cancer. Early detection and regular screening, mammograms, followed by timely treatment upon diagnosis, can significantly improve a patient's chance of survival. This month and throughout the year, Greenfield City Council joined in support of our fellow residents and Americans diagnosed with breast cancer, those who are in remission, and those who have lost loved ones from this disease. We also commend skilled medical professionals and dedicated researchers who provide quality treatment care to women and men across the country. As one nation, we will continue to strive for a future in which every American may enjoy a long, healthy life free from threat of cancer. Now, therefore, I, Robert White, Mayor of Greenfield, and the City Council do hereby proclaim October 24th as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Do we have anyone to accept this tonight? Or? We do not. Okay. We'll get this to somebody at one of the local facilities, I think. All right. All right, J2, Tom Rogers Visitor Center. Update.
Good evening, Mayor White, members of the City Council, Paul Mugen. Appreciate the opportunity to be with you tonight and update you to the best of my ability regarding progress on the Tom Rogers Museum. Staff focused primarily on the timeline for build-out, since that's what the City Council is primarily interested in at this time. The project is a two-phased project, the first phase of which is concluded currently, and as we prepare for phase two moving forward. The timeline for build-out of phase two is it should be ready for occupancy by the end of this fiscal year or June 2025. The council may realize that this is a public project and as a public project, this implicates the public contracts law and also our procurement regulations in chapter 3.12. These regulations limit our discretion as to how we contract the professional services that are required for the remaining components of phase two. Those remaining components for phase two include build out of a bathroom, build out of a kitchenette, locksmithing, and then from that, a door cut as well in the facility, and then from that, aesthetic components such as decking and landscaping. Just to review what has occurred already in phase one, phase one primarily involved construction of a foundation, which initially we didn't believe was necessary because of the type of building that it is. manufactured building. And second, transport of the facility from Santa Cruz down to our city. I don't need to remind the city council that with all construction projects, things that are not known or unanticipated cause unanticipated delays. For example, in phase one, Caltrans provided significant challenges and delay just merely constructing a transportation route for the oversized load to transport the building from Santa Cruz to the city. I only point that out because this is just an example of things that we couldn't anticipate, and it would be short-sighted to think that there may be other things in phase two that we never thought of. However, it's important to note that it is a public project governed by those regulations. Any contracting that ensues regarding the future construction must go through and adhere to those processes in our procurement code and the public contracts code. With that said, I'm quoting from our regulations, quote, "Notwithstanding anything to the contrary, nothing in this section shall prohibit the city from identifying and or utilizing other lawful methods for awarding contracts for public projects should it be determined that such other methods are in the best interest of the city." So be assured that staff from the city engineer through myself, legal counsel, are looking at all aspects of this to hopefully avoid any unnecessary delays. The contracting alone should consume 3 months, and that's, it could be only 2 if we're lucky with the contractors, but it also could be as long as 3. It's also salient and important to note that several unique factors remove the typical control that the city would have over a project like this. For example, as a manufactured building, the state architect has full jurisdiction over the permitting for the bathroom, the kitchenette. Any construction that occurs to the building must be permitted by the state architect's office. And that's a seamless process, but the point is it's a process that we have no control over whatsoever. A second important point is that once the contracts are awarded to various contractors, the city has very limited managerial leverage over contractors. So we saw some of that in phase one that perhaps delayed the project more than we otherwise would have expected. I want to lastly say that the project honors the life and legacy of our community's first mayor. Seeing the building on site after the many decades of dedication and commitment by so many in the city is a credit to the patrons, past and present, who fundraised, purchased the bricks that are installed in the public walkway inside the park. And although the timeline is extended to what we believe is June of 2025. We think that the time will be well worth it. And also, it's very important to recognize and thank the City Council for the resources, the significant appropriations that the City Council has approved for the project. There's no doubt that this Tom Rogers Museum Visitor Center could never have happened without your support in that area. So that concludes my brief remarks, and I'll try and answer some questions if you have any.
Does council have any questions? I'll just say it's frustrating to hear that it's going to be another 8 or 9 months before this is opened up, but I understand we have to go through the process. So thank you very much for the update. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Now we'll move to K1. Receive receive and file 2021-22 financial audit. Staff report, please.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this item, let's see what we need to do. Ed, do I need to do something? Oh, there we go. Okay, very good. So this item is a review of the financial audit for fiscal year 21-22. And you may be asking yourself, wow, we're in 24. That's a good thing to wonder about. This is actually a late audit. It was finished and complete and sent to us within the last 4 weeks. One of the reasons is because of COVID, and it changed the business practices of a lot of CPAs. They stopped coming out to cities and auditees. Our auditor was no different. I think in the last 2 meetings, the council has approved going out for an RFP for a new auditor. We've approved it. We went through and interviewed them all. We had three finalists, 4 total applications. We've picked one. We've got an agreement that's ready to go to council on the 22nd related to an engagement with them, and they are starting with the 22-23 audit year. So we hope to be caught up relatively soon. Having said that, financial audit for 21-22. Why an audit? Well, it's required by the state. Every year, every municipality in California has to go through the process of an independent third-party validation of accounting practices. And this validation gives the state and federal governments a sense of comfort knowing that third-party professionals have reviewed the city's accounting work, finance work. To start off, I'll give you an overall message. We have a clean audit, which means they didn't find any irregularities, no big issues. We did have a few reclassifications of transactions, not uncommon. There are things in a management letter referred to as findings, where if auditors find that something is a little different that they want the council to know about, they will write it up. We had one finding related to individual funds within the general fund not being funded entirely, which basically means, in general, most cities have one general fund. We have a number of funds that make up our general fund for a variety of reasons. The main one is, like, we have a fire fund. Why do we have a fire fund? Well, because when we took in the fire district and formed a new department, we wanted to make sure that we could identify all the transactions related to the department. So we set up a fund called the Fire Fund. We also have a separate fund for the ARPA funds that were received by the city, because we wanted to make sure we could see very clearly how that money was being spent. In setting these multiple funds, they all roll to the general fund, so it's all still a part of the general fund, but some of them weren't being funded entirely. We weren't making transfers, and these transfers are just accounting entries going from the main general fund into these other funds. At the end of the day, it doesn't make much of a difference because they're all put together anyway. So, but it was a finding, and it's a reasonable finding. We don't have a problem with it. That's the story there. Fiscal year 21-22 revenues were enhanced by ARPA. If you remember, we did end up receiving $4.2 million of federal funds from the American Recovery Plan Act. We received the first tranche of ARPA funds. We counted for it in fiscal year 21-22. That was free money, $2.1 million. That we basically, it just came at the end of the fiscal year. We didn't have time to spend any of it. And so we have a lot of the surplus that we have for this year is because we got these ARPA monies in. And since it goes from revenue in fiscal year 21, 22, and then when that ends, we go into the new year, that's actually becomes a portion of fund balance, which is like our equity. And so we just need to know that when we do spend it, we will be spending it out of this fund balance. So it'll look like we're deficit spending. And effectively, we will be, but it's $2 million that came in for free back in 21, 22. So we should be mindful of that as we look forward. In addition to that, that was just the first half. The second half came in 22, 23. We did start spending it in 22, 23, but I would expect that we would have a surplus for that following year as well. Not sure how much, because we're just doing the bookwork now, but just know that it's a surplus here in 21, 22. We will probably have a surplus in 22, 23. It'll be 23, 24 when we really start spending that money, along with a few other things, that we'll probably have a deficit. So, and those audits will be done in the next 4 to 5 months. So we'll talk about those when we get them done. So related now back to fiscal year 21, 22, our net position, which is basically our assets of the city minus all of our liabilities, improved by almost $5.3 million. Don't forget, 2.1 of that is probably because of ARPA coming in with no expenses against it. And we paid down our long-term debt by $3.3 million. So we're getting in a better position financially, and our bank balances that you get monthly reports on, you can see that that's going up. 6 years ago, we had $13 million in the bank. At the end of August, I believe was the last one that you received, we had over $26 million. It's doubled in the past 6 years. Okay, so these are somewhat small numbers. Basically what it shows is our total assets, kind of what I was just talking about. Total assets, total liabilities, and then our net position. Comparing fiscal years 21 and 22. Our government activities, you can see those numbers there. Our business type activities, what those are our sewer plant and our water plant. Those are referred to as business type activities. And then the total. So the main numbers there are our government activities. This year, our net position went up, this year, 2022, went up around about what would we say, 5.3? About $5.3 million from fiscal year 21 to 22. Our business type activities actually decreased a little bit, and a lot of that was because of the huge expenses we're spending on our wastewater treatment plant, trying to get it up to snuff. And then the totals are just the two groups put together. Our changes in net position, that's basically our profit and loss statement, or a net income statement. It shows for governmental activities, our total revenues of around 28 million compared to 19 million from the prior year. Okay, 2.1 million of that is ARPA, but we actually had a lot more revenue coming in from grants, from a lot of things. Our total expenditures for 22 over 21 increased from 21 million to 23 million. Once again, we didn't spend the ARPA, but we did have rental and utility assistance, if you recall, for all those people that couldn't pay their rent and pay their utilities during COVID. And then we've got our activities, business type activities. Total revenues are about the same, a little bit less, and our total expenditures increased for our water and wastewater, mainly due to these improvements and repairs and maintenance that we need to do and continue to do on the wastewater treatment plant. Budgetary highlights. So if we look at so that was citywide. When you look at governmental activities, that's all of our special revenue funds, our general fund, our capital projects funds, all of that. This is budgetary highlights related to just our general fund, which is probably the most important and the most discretionary funding availability to City Council. This is looking at our budget, our beginning budget, our final budget, as well as the actuals. If you see, go over to the far right, we had an excess revenues of 3.1 million. Don't forget, 2.1 of that is ARPA. So we had an actual, like an operating surplus of around $1 million. We overshot our expenditures by just shy of $50,000. And then our other sources and uses of funds, it could be, that could be, I don't know exactly what that is, but it could be funding a variety of special revenue projects. We were over, our actual was over by around $478,000, which shows a net positive variance of 2.6 million. And once again, 2.1 of that is ARPA. So that's about a $500,000 surplus to the general fund for normal situations. That's all I've got. So that's the financial statement in a nutshell. The entire financial statement with notes, with the MD&A, which is the management's discussion and analysis from which this is derived, is all available on the city's website. Is it on there yet? Pam, do you know the financial statement? It should be up there. Okay, it should be up there now. If not, we can get it done tomorrow.
Okay.
All right. So I'm open for questions.
All right, I'll open it up to public comments first, please. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for comments. I just have a couple items. Looked it over. The findings seemed very minor there. My only concern was the timing on it as far as being for 2022.
Yeah.
Basically, we've got two of these that need to come to it, so I'd really like, if you could encourage our new accountant to really get with it and put those together as quickly as possible. So that would make me feel much better than knowing that everything is, 2 years is a long period of time to not have to audit.
It is, and that was one of the points that we put in our RFP. We basically asked every candidate, what are your plans to get this, because we are behind, what are your plans to get us caught up? So everybody was aware of it, and they've got plans for it. So, and we're in contact with them. Like I said, we needed to get the engagement letter, and we got that taken care of.
Actually, I do have one quick question. Are we the only city in this predicament, or are there other cities in the same predicament?
No, there are other cities in this predicament. I do not know that there are any that are older than this, but our lending institutions, the people that lend us money, and like I said, we've cut our debt by about 3.3 million. It's significantly larger than that because we're still paying for this building as well as solar panels, as well as a number of things. We check in with them, or they check in with us every year and want to see these. We've sent them drafts. They're not concerned. They know that with ARPA monies coming and this vast amount of grant monies that have gone out, everyone is a little bit bogged down with the paperwork, with the accounting and all that. So it is, I think the whole system is kind of clogged a little bit. We might be more than most, but most are a little bit behind.
Yeah, because I know we have a significant amount of money for the rent and the water.
Yes.
Payments that we
Yep.
ran through.
Did a lot of work on that. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? All right, I'll bring it back to council for a motion.
Oh, no, I don't think any actions necessary.
Oh, nothing action, so we just need to receive the file. Very good.
Okay.
All right, K2, adopt a resolution, City Council, City of Greenfield adopting a budget adjustment in the amount of $36,000 for the Arroyo Seco Groundwater Sustainability Agency, General Manager Consulting Services for the fiscal year 2024-25. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Arroyo Seco Groundwater Sustainability Agency, or the ASGSA, entered into an agreement with GNC Consulting for management consulting services in 2020. The management costs are split evenly between the City of Greenfield and Clark Colony Water Company at $36,000 per year. This was an expense that should have been in your original budget when we approved the budget, the big document, but it was missed. And so we want to get a supplemental appropriation for it at this time. The money will be coming out of, I believe, well, it says water, certainly. That might be broken out between water and wastewater. I'm not exactly sure yet.
Okay.
So we're asking for supplemental appropriation for this expenditure.
All right. Do we have any public comments on item K2? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for questions, comments, or a motion.
Move to adopt.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Approved. Thank you very much. K3, adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Greenfield accepting street drainage and pedestrian improvements on 12th Street between Oak Avenue and Elm Avenue, completed by Monterey Peninsula Engineering. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. So I'm here tonight to present the resolution of completion and acceptance of the 12th Street pedestrian and street improvements and storm drain improvements on the west side of 12th Street. The east side was recently completed by the phase 2 of the housing project. And I'm sure you've all seen it. It's dramatically different. Everything's changed about it. It's cleaner. There's no longer ponding and mud. There's sidewalks that work well and have access. I was out there last week and was witness to the little parade that was conducted down 12th Street for the elementary school students, and they were able to sit on the curb of the new sidewalk on the corner and observe. And I also was able to observe a gentleman in an electric wheelchair roll down the side of the street that we completed, and worked very well for him. This project began in January of 2024 and was completed in August. The contract initially awarded was $772,000 and some change. There's change orders that you're aware of that we came to council and got approved. And the final accounting is on page 2 of the staff report. I'll just draw your attention to the table. There was a total budget of $1.425 million. When you add up the construction cost of $997,000, the design and inspection costs of $141,000, we came under budget by $286,000 overall for the project. We have a 1-year warranty on the work, so we'll inspect that close to the 1-year mark and call out the contractor if there's anything that needs repair. I'll just mention again that TAMC approved some funding that basically funds the sidewalk. All the street and storm drain improvements were funded by the city. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right. I'll open it up for public comment first. Do we have any public comment on K3?
Mr. Pike, I just have a quick question. When did the 1 year start and when does it expire? Oh, through the mayor, may I ask him a question? Thank you. Today? Oh, wow.
Anybody else? All right. I'll bring it back to City Council for comments, review, and action.
So I'd actually like to see the review and the overall maintenance review be done well before a year is done. I'd actually like to see that done on a fairly regular basis, since we do have ongoing concerns with that street. So I'd like to see that done maybe on a quarterly basis.
Makes sense.
we can do that.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? I know there's been a couple of concerns about some lights out there. Was that on our side or was that on the other project?
Those two streetlights were installed by the development. We've not yet accepted those. We've informed them a couple of times that we need a schedule for repair, and they're working on that.
Okay. All right. If not, I'll entertain a motion on K3.
I'll move approval.
Need a second? All right, been motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. K4, a resolution of the City Council, City of Greenfield, accepting the Apple Avenue Water System Consolidation Project completed by Anderson Pacific Engineering Construction Incorporated, which includes water system improvements on Apple Avenue from Victorian Circle to approximately 600 feet west of 13th Street, and on 13th Street from Apple Avenue to 700 feet south of Apple Avenue. Staff report, please.
Thank you. This project also was just recently completed. This extends clean and fresh water service to areas of the city and just immediately outside the city that these individuals have been on bottled water for some time, nearly 2 decades, actually. And so this project is funded by the state of California. They're the sponsors, and we've been submitting basically invoices for reimbursement, and they are reimbursing all the design costs, construction management costs, inspection costs, the contractor costs, everything that's been associated with it. They even agreed to fund all of the connections, which is very unusual. So we, rather than just do the improvements to the meters, this project also connected them to all of the residences so that when the contractor walked off site, everybody could turn on the tap and have fresh, safe drinking water. The staff report gives just a little bit of the summary. It started, essentially, the construction started in March. We had a soft notice to proceed earlier than that just because of procurement of materials. And we were able to complete the project in accordance with state funding guidelines and schedule. Original contract amount was $1.08 million. There were 2 change orders that were reviewed by and approved by the state and paid for by the state. And the total final contract amount was $1.195 million. The design and construction management inspections performed by NV5. They're a well-known engineering consulting firm in the state of California, and they specialize in these water consolidation projects. That's why we have hired them to handle it, and that was approved by the state, and their costs are reimbursed by the state. And I'm available for any questions.
All right. I'll open K4 up to public comments. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council. Comments, review, and action. Any questions?
Long overdue. So I'll make a motion.
Yeah. I was just going to say, this is one of the first things I voted on way back when I first got on council 6 years ago. So I'm happy to see this come to a conclusion here. And happy for those people out in that neighborhood because it's been a problem for a long, long time. So happy to get that one completed. So.
I'll make a motion. Move to approve.
I'll second. Been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. K5, a resolution of the City Council, City of Greenfield to enter into a memorandum of understanding between the City of Greenfield and the County of Monterey to implement the Greenfield Site Project Radio Tower. Staff report, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. This staff report before you and the resolution is for the mayor to enter agreement with the County of Monterey for our radio tower site project. As we know, we received quite a bit of funds from Senator Caballero's office to help us construct this emergency radio communications tower. And this MOU will outline the scope of the upgraded project. We also found that by combining our projects with the county, we're able to save the city over $225,000. It's also saving the county almost $100,000. So we're leveraging our both projects against our third-party vendor, L3 Harris. And the memorandum of understanding, the MOU, will obviously apportion the cost of the project between the parties and establish a protocol for invoices and payments, establish a mechanism for the resolution of disputes between the parties. Our city attorney has reviewed the MOU, some revisions back and forth, and I think we came to a good understanding. I'll take any questions.
All right. I'll open up K5 to public comments. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for comments, review, and action.
I'm glad to see Engine finally coming along, because we've been discussing this since I was on the fire board. It has been, what, 10 years now since we started this. So Engine has been coming. There's been a couple of issues with it being implemented, as I'm sure you're fully aware. I'm glad to see this moving forward.
Excellent. Okay. Any other questions, comments? I'll entertain a
I'll
motion.
move approval.
Then moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. K6, resolution of the City Council, City of Greenfield awarding a professional services contract, California Strategies LLC, in the amount not to exceed $90,000. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The City of Greenfield has worked very hard rehabilitating and improving our wastewater treatment plant over the last few years. After hiring a consultant to determine the city's best path forward related to the treatment plant and subsequent advisory talks with a number of wastewater experts and the California state and regional water boards, so the city concluded that the best path forward would be to construct a multi-modular MBR biomembrane reactor plant that would be expandable, as well as provide a smaller footprint and recycled water in a relatively affordable format. With the anticipated funding coming from the state of California, the city embarked on the first steps in the normal course of any large project, environmental analysis and design. To date, the environmental analysis and 90% of the plant design have been completed. The cost of these two phases is in the range of $5 to $6 million. The entire project has always been expected to be funded via reimbursement for the environmental and design phases and additional grant funding for the construction by the state of California. The entire cost of the project is expected to be in the range of $70 to $90 million. Recently, the city has received word that the state of California, due to budget constraints, would not be able to fund the project to any significant degree, and that means up to $15 million. We feel this is unfair and unworkable. The city of Greenfield has been a model citizen for the state of California in a variety of ways, by providing housing in all categories required by the RENA mandate for years, including the next cycle, the next 6 years. We're providing new forward-thinking programs for our youth and young adults, youth councils, internships, providing excellent public safety services, community-oriented policing, school resource officers training, and beside federal, state, and regional agencies that increase the arrest rates and potential conviction rates for local crime, absorbing a financially stressed fire district and making improving services and staff training, providing far-reaching senior citizen programs in conjunction with other regional nonprofits to enhance the life experience of our seniors. Also, increase recreation programs sponsored by the city, as well as partnering with existing sports league. All this while being classified as a disadvantaged community. One of the issues that the mandated housing causes is additional pressure on existing infrastructure. It isn't fair that the state mandates all kinds of housing without assisting its disadvantaged communities and expanding its infrastructure to handle the growth the increase in housing is causing. The purpose of this agreement is to engage professionals that will be able to use their expertise in talking with policymakers to spread the Greenfield story related to our wastewater treatment plant and how necessary it is that the state of California reconsider its funding priorities. The budget impact is expected to be around $90,000. It's $15,000 a month for what we expect to be 6 months. Of course, it's got a 30-day, if you looked at the agreement, it's a 30-day cancellation period, so with 30 days we can cut it off. The firm is locally based. It's made up of a number of policy analysts as well as former politicians from the area that know the people that will be, hopefully be influenced by our story and the predicament that we're in. So this is a supplemental appropriation request for $90,000, and I will take any questions.
All right. I'll go ahead and open up public comments for K6. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for council comments, review, and action. Any comments from the council?
What comment is this? Are there other cities that are also hiring a firm like this to potentially persuade?
Yeah, I don't know of any. So we know that Gonzales is working on a wastewater treatment plant increase because they've got big plans and big housing in the works. King City does as well. Their projects are more expensive. King City's is now $100 to $120 million range. I know Gonzales is faced with the same issue. I'm sure King City is. I don't know. I haven't talked to Steve Adams about that, this particularly. But they are working on putting together loans. What I think is different about Greenfield, and everybody who's involved in this agrees, is the solution that we're providing, this MBR system, is really, it's going to be a benefit to us. It's a small footprint, which checks the ecological boxes on the state's checklist. It provides tertiary treatment, which is recycled water that can go directly back into the ground. And it's cheaper. Our system, for about the same size, 70 to 90 million, versus King City's, it's a different solution. It's actually the one that was proposed by Carollo Engineers. It's a very tried and true solution. It would have cost us 100 to 120 million as well, called an oxidation ditch system. It's very traditional. And that's great. That's what King City chose to do. We chose to go a more modern approach that's cheaper, provides tertiary treatment, and has got a smaller footprint. All things that the state wants. What's the most important for the state is the fact that since they fund so many of the small wastewater systems around California, that the proof of concept of our system at our size is going to help them save hundreds of millions, if not billions, in the future by them being able to say, hey, I don't want, the Tulare Water District, wastewater district to be doing a ditch system because it's going to cost $50 million more than the system that we put in that's going to be a smaller footprint, it'll be cheaper, and have tertiary water at the back end. So this reason we're certainly we want it for ourselves. We want them to fund it. But we think our situation is special because at the end of the day, this helps the California Water Resources Agency because it's going to save them millions and millions of dollars as well over time. Did that answer the question? Short answer is yes, they've got the same problems. I don't know that they're going this route. Okay.
One of the other things I'd like to add to that as well is this is also very much a modular approach. So as the city expands and our water and our wastewater requirements continue to grow, it's not going through and, okay, in 10 years we have to go rebuild this again. Right. It's we add another module.
Exactly.
And a couple of years after that, it's, we need to add another module. It's not going from the ground up every single time we have to go back and do the drawing board.
Right. Good point.
So it's future-proofing our water treatment plant as well.
Also, we've invested a large amount of money in this project already, our money, so. Right,
so I'm gonna save some of this stuff, but that's a very good point. And we have spent, and you've appropriated between 5 and 6 million, I believe, already for the environmental. That's all paid, and we are now at the point where 90% design is finished for the whole plant, and that's been largely paid for.
But weren't we told that was going to be reimbursed at some point?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. So we had an option at the beginning of doing a planning grant of up to $4 million. And we were discouraged by the state of California saying, just do the construction grant because you'll get the money back for the planning as well. And so now they're telling us.
Do we have that in writing?
We do.
Might be a good leverage to use as well.
Well, I think we've got to continue with the process and try and get this built, and I would agree. I think it's a great idea to move forward and have try to use some leverage on these people and point some of this stuff out. I know Paul's been working hard trying to gather all the facts so that we can make our case to the state. So I think this would just add some extra benefit to that. So I would agree. I'll entertain a motion to
I'll move approval.
I need a second. Been moved in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We will now adjourn to closed session.
Council will meet in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1. Conference with legal counsel for existing litigation. The case is Andrew Sandoval versus the City of Greenfield.
All right.
Would you please open it? Yeah, public
Oh, I'm sorry.
comment.
Public comments on this. Seeing none, we will now adjourn. All right. Reconvene to open session. City Attorney report.
Yes, the city council voted in closed session not to appeal the Andrew Sandoval versus City of Greenfield case. The vote was Mayor White, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez, and Councilmember Martinez in favor of not appealing, and Councilmember Tipton abstaining.
All right. City Attorney report.
I have nothing to report.
City Manager report.
Nothing to report, thank you.
All right. Then meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.